This talk is going to be about angelology in Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity. Now, if I've ever talked to you about my own spiritual practice, you will have heard something about the angels. The angels really were the very beginning of my walk in faith that I started. And so this was really interesting to me, was to see how the angels showed up in different faiths and what they looked like. And I learned things that I wasn't surprised by, and I learned things that I was surprised by. So let's get into this study of kind of a look at how angels show up in these three different faiths. Michelangelo said of his statue, "I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free." Angels are part of myth and folklore across the world. They're also a recurring theme in most of today's major religions. Newsweek found in a survey that 13% of Americans have seen or sensed the presence of an angel. In this paper, we'll be looking at the treatment of angels in the three world religions of Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam. Though these spiritual entities may be called something other than angels in different disciplines, we will explore the commonality and the differences in each. Now let's go ahead and define angels, so we have kind of a concept. According to Oxford Languages, they are a spiritual being believed to act as an attendant, agent, or messenger of God, conventionally represented in human form with wings and a long robe. Now, what interests me about this definition of angels is it's very much this Western ideal of angels, specifically when we're talking about the mention of wings and a robe. Now, in this paper, we'll be looking at a much more liberal concept of what constitutes an angel than is represented in this definition, and that liberalism will really especially be true in the case of Buddhism. And if you ask people, a lot of people, not everybody, but if you ask a lot of people that follow the ideas and principles of Buddhism, they will tell you that there's angels in there. So that's what we're going to be looking at. Now, in Buddhism, there are 28 levels of heaven, of which 6 domains are considered to be in the desire realm. The common trait of those desire realms is that they have material bodies and they have physical needs. So that leaves 22 levels where the need for that's above the need for physicality, and really these are where we're going to find the entities, or at least some of the entities that we will discuss in this paper. Because of so many levels in the discipline, there are a number of Buddhist entities that could possibly fit the description of angel as shown in the above definition. The Encyclopedia Britannica says that the function of angels in Eastern religions was carried by avatars, bodhisattvas, and other spiritual beings who were extensions of God or the sacred. Swami Amar Jyoti explains that angels are called devas, which is Sanskrit for shining beings, according to the Vedas, which are ancient Hindu scriptures mentioned by Buddha in the Pali Canon. Part of the work of these devas is to bring news to humans and help humankind. They are beautiful and happy beings that gain sustenance through Vedic yajanas or fire rituals. To break down the idea of devas further, 2 types of devas are Gandharvas and Apsaras. I always want to say Asparas. Gandharvas, or Gandhaba in Pali, are considered to be a race of demigods among the lowest ranking in devas. Known for their musical skills and connection with nature, they are seen disturbing the meditation practices of monks. Though one of their duties is as messengers and representatives of higher entities, only the most basic forms of ethics are required to be at this level of consciousness. Therefore, it can be considered actually embarrassing for a monk to be born as a Gandharva. Apsaras are said to be the wives of the Gandharva. Female divinities, they are also known as nymphs. The Apsara are celestial damsels who can change shape at will. Since they're often pictured taking flight and being in service of various gods, they are thought of as angels. Imbued with superhuman power, they are known to be sent to disturb the penance of sages who become too rigorous in their austerity. All of these spiritual beings are understood to be under the guise of the Buddha's teaching and guidance. to request instruction and clarification, to support his sasana or dispensation, to praise his incomparable qualities, and to pay homage at his feet. These entities are not immortal in the Buddhist tradition, but have lifetimes that extend to hundreds and sometimes even thousands of years. Now, it's been inferred by this paper so far that the foundation of angels and infrastructure of spiritual entities in Buddhism is based on the traditions of Hinduism. Here, there's a common thread for Christianity and Islam. The importance of angels in these two latter religions has its roots in the tradition of angels in Judaism. Muhammad considered Islam as a progression from the Jewish faith, just as first century Christians considered themselves to be of Jewish faith. For the Christian faith, the mention of angels is prevalent in the sacred text. Angels are mentioned some 196 times in the Old and New Testament, encompassing at least 34 of the books from Genesis to Revelation. The roles and hierarchy of angels in Christianity have become very structured over time. Pope Gregory I recognized 3 hierarchies, each of which contained 3 orders. And these are based on their proximity to God. The hierarchies are ranked from closest to God to farthest away. The first order being seraphim, cherubim, and thrones. The second, dominations, virtues, and powers. And the third being principalities, archangels, and angels. The Catholic Church in the Catechism says of angels, the existence of the spiritual non-corporeal beings that sacred scripture usually calls angels is a truth of faith. The Catechism goes on to tell us that the term angel is an office and that their nature is spirit. In other words, they are spirit and what they do is angel. Angels are the servants and messengers of God because they always behold the face of my Father who is in heaven. They are the mighty ones who do his word, hearkening to the voice of this word. As purely spiritual creatures, angels have intelligence and will. They are personal and immortal creatures, surpassing in perfection all visible creatures, as the splendor of their glory bears witness. Another responsibility is to minister and assist Jesus the Christ. Christ is the center of the angelic world. This is from the Catechism. There is angels. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, they belong to him because they were created through and for him. For in him all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or principalities or authorities. All things were created through him and for him. They belong to him still more because he has made them messengers of his saving plan. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to serve for the sake of those who are to obtain salvation? The last job for the angels is to intercede for and protect humans here on earth. From infancy to death, human life is surrounded by their watchful care and intercession. Beside each believer stands an angel as protector and shepherd leading him to life. Already here on earth, the Christian life shares by faith in the blessed company of angels and men united in God. Though the scriptures count the number of angels as myriads of myriads, the number of angels who are actually mentioned by name in the Bible is very few. The apocryphal book of Enoch mentions 7 archangels: Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, Seraquel, Raguel, and Remiel. Most angel names, as exemplified by the latter 7, are constructed of some attribute of the angel and followed by either El, Il, or Eil. And we should note that the term angel itself ends in El. El is the name for God, meaning strength, might, or power. The basic form El appears over 250 times in the Tanakh. Appears primarily in construct relation when describing the God of Israel. As for relevance in the biblical scriptures, angels have performed a number of tasks, from the angel that wrestled with Jacob in Genesis, an angel of death killing the firstborn sons of Egypt in Exodus, angels announcing Jesus' birth in Luke, to Archangel Michael waging a holy war in heaven in Revelations. Angels are an intrinsic part of the Christian tradition. They are either directly mentioned or implied in almost all of God's interactions with humans. Angels have been present since creation and throughout the history of salvation, announcing this salvation from afar or near and serving the accomplishment of the divine plan. They closed the earthly paradise, protected Lot, saved Hagar and her child, stayed Abraham's hand, communicated the law by their ministry, led the people of God, announced births and callings, and assisted the prophets, just to cite a few examples. Finally, the angel Gabriel announced the birth of the precursor and that of Jesus himself. Perhaps, and this surprised me, perhaps in no faith are angels given more importance than in Islam. One of the 6 main principles of Islam is belief in angels. In the Islamic faith, angels are created from light and they have no carnal self. They do not have free will like humans do, therefore they have absolute obedience to God. There are millions of angels. They do not have human needs like eating and drinking. They see us, but we do not see them unless God permits. They are not helpers of God, for God does not need help. God uses them as representatives of some orders in the eyes of human. 4 of the best-known angels in the Islamic faith are Gabriel, the angel of revelation, Israfil, the angel responsible for signaling the coming of Judgment Day, and Michael, the angel responsible for distributing food among the creatures. Oh, and also Azrael, the angel of death. Perhaps one of the main reasons for the importance of angels in Islam is Muhammad's relationship with angel Jibril, also known as Gabriel. On the night of power, the angel Jibril revealed Allah's words in the form of the Quran to Muhammad. Without the intervention of Jibril into Muhammad's meditations, the religion of Islam would never have come to be. Muhammad was meditating in a cave when the angel Jibril appeared before him in the year AD 610 and said, "Read," upon which he replied, "I am unable to read." Thereupon the angel caught hold of him and embraced him heavily. This happened 2 more times, after which the angel commanded Muhammad to recite the following verses. "Read, in the name of your Lord who created man from a clinging substance. Read, your Lord is most generous. He who taught by the pen taught man that which he knew not." In Islam, angels are called malaika, which is Arabic actually. Muslims believe that the malaika were created before humans by God for the purpose of communicating with humans and following the orders of Allah. The messenger has believed in what has revealed to him from his Lord, and so have the believers. All of them have believed in Allah and His angels and His books and His messengers. We make no distinctions between any of His messengers, and they say, "We hear and obey. We seek your forgiveness, our Lord, and you as the final destination." In a speech, and I'm not going to try to say this word, a Malikatullah, there we go, I did try. Hazrat Mesle-e-Maud gave 14 points based on the Quran on the reality of angels. Number 1, they are God's creation. One may think with the status ascribed to them that angels are not God's creation. Christians have fallen victim to this very misconception and suppose that the Holy Spirit is not God's creation, but rather a part of God Himself. As such, they have ascribed divinity to it, but Islam purports that the idea of angels being uncreated is false. Number 2, they cannot be seen by the naked eye. Man cannot behold angels in their original forms with his physical eyes. If he does see them with his eyes, he will see them manifested in a new form, meaning that physical eyes will not suffice to see them in their original form, but rather one needs spiritual eyes to do so. Number 3, they have no gender. One must remember that they, angels, are neither male nor female. The next one, the angels have 3 ranks. Those who manifest Allah's tributes, and think about the Pope Gregory I had 3 ranks too. Those who assist the first rank and are muqarrab to Allah, and those who have been appointed to smaller tasks. Next, they are unable to commit sin. The angels are such a creation that they have not been given the power to commit evil. In contrast to human beings, the scope of action of angels is limited. Man can can transgress his limits, but angels are unable to exceed the limits placed upon them. Next, they fulfill Allah's command to its fullest extent. Angels are not only unable to disobey Allah's command, but they have such inherent faculties that they completely fulfill God's command in its entirety. They have been given such capability that they completely fulfill whatever task they are assigned, meaning that all of them are capable to do so. Angels are unlike human beings in that some angels have the power to fulfill command and some do not. Next, no external force can manipulate them. Angels are protected in every way from external influence. Next, they are countless in number. Their number is immeasurable to human beings. Next, they follow a system of administrative order. The angels are fixed in their position of administrative service to the extent that they hold offices of ranked authority of different divisions. Next, they are limited in their state and strength. Angels are, in contrast to human beings, limited in their powers and capabilities. They remain only in one state of being, whereas human beings can greatly progress and evolve. Next, they have free will, but no extremely limited extent. The angel's example is akin to a horse whose neck is harnessed to a long rope which is tethered to a nail. The horse can move about, but it cannot leave the boundaries of its leash. Angels also orbit a fixed station and cannot leave its boundaries. Next, they do not have knowledge of the unseen. Next, they are different angels allocated to different tasks. And finally, they are manifestations of divine attributes. Some angels are manifestations of one specific attribute of Allah, while some other angels are manifestations of a multitude of attributes. So there are 6 angels mentioned by name in the Quran: Jibril or Gabriel, Mikael or Michael, Israel or Israel, Israfil or Raphael, Munkar and Nakir. In addition to these 6 named angels, there are 2 others that sit on the shoulders of everyone. One of these angels records all of your good deeds, and the other all of your bad deeds. The recording of these deeds determines your fate on the day of judgment. Also, there are 2 guardian angels, one in front and one in back of each person. All of this information highlights the rich history of angels in the Islamic tradition, starting with the first meeting between Muhammad and Jibril. Now, it's interesting to note that the oldest known reference to angelic-like beings is found somewhere around 5000 BCE in the Zoroastrian concept of winged entities acting as guardian angels and divine emissaries of Azhur Mazda. These entities have been the subject of art, oral history, sacred text, prayers, and religious doctrine for millennia. Each new tradition seems to pick up the thread of angelology and add to it. As the consciousness and belief systems of the world change and adapt, how will the relationship between angelic entities and humans change? I think only time will tell. And it is interesting to, if you look at how angels have been portrayed or seen, both in art and also in descriptions through time, you'll see that in the very beginning, angels were seen as these very scary, sort of fierce beings that were to be feared by human beings. And then during the time of the Black Plague, in order to make people feel better about the loss of their children, they started to think of cherubim as babies that were asleep, which were not how cherubim really started. You know, cherubim are shown as being part of the entities that keep Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden, after they're expelled. So rather fierce creatures. And now we see angels as being depicted as very human appearing, and you'll even sometimes hear them being given male and female attributes, whereas really they're non-binary. So it's very interesting to see that progression over time of how they've been seen. But angels are very important to me. They're part of my daily ritual. They're part of my meditation process. They for me are a way for me to have a personal relationship with God, because the idea of God can be very large and complex and untouchable and unreachable. But the idea of different angels, each one having like a different task and almost a different personality, so to speak, can make it much easier, at least for me in my spiritual practice, to connect with them, have a relationship with them, and to find more fulfillment and joy and expansion and empowerment in life. And that is very, very important to me. And I wish for joy and empowerment for you. So perhaps if you feel so inclined, would love for you to see if you can connect with the angelic world, see if that helps you, and see how it might grow your own personal spiritual practice for yourself. And love, peace, and release.